record this computer. Okay, so feel free, by the way, to, there's not, well, I don't know how many people are here, but feel free to ask questions, type away. I certainly would love your feedback. And let's see. Again, sorry I'm a little late to get started. Okay. So first of all, you guys should know what EditMentor is. And I think there's a lot of confusion around this. A lot of people think that EditMentor is a fully functioning NLE, so nonlinear editing software, which it will be. And it's close to that now, but we're still very early in our development. Actually, we were planning on releasing sometime around NAB. But what, obviously, with the current state of world affairs, we are releasing now, so, or as quickly as possible. So I'm going to sign into EditMentor and share my screen. And hopefully you guys can all see my screen now.
Yes.
And I will see it if you have questions, they'll show up in here, okay? So feel free to type away. So let's see, and making sure, well, that's okay. Okay, I'm going to sign into EditMentor. So EditMentor is, or has within it, what's called a learning management system, or an LMS, which many of you guys are already using. That's like Google Classroom or Canvas or Blackboard, something like that. And actually, the reason that we built our own is so that we could test the connection to those learning management systems. So for example, with Canvas, these are all our lessons right now that are published. You could take any of these lessons and connect them right into your Canvas system, so you don't even need to create student accounts. They can just click a link and it'll work. So I'm going to go through the EditMentor quiz first, and then I'll show you how to make a lesson, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to press, here's the lesson. You can see the lesson description. Actually, we can even put a video in here. So you can have a tutorial video. And we're working on curriculum as we speak. Curriculum is the #1 thing you're all looking for. I'm sure of it. So just know that it's coming, but it's coming at the speed that the tool is also being created, because we have some limitations. So it's a little bit of a stop and start. Okay, I'm going to play this quiz as a student. And you'll notice in the background, first of all, this looks like Adobe Premiere. That's not a mistake. It actually was designed to look like Premiere, but not to replace Premiere or any other editing software. This is really to make your students who are new to editing not feel so scared of those more advanced tools. So I'm going to start the lesson. And let's see, I'm going to start on the first question. Try again. And so we get here an explanation of what the challenge is. The teacher can add this, but really we add this. We've created this lesson. And so what we're saying is we're going to watch a sequence, and the student needs to figure out which shot needs to be removed. And I'm going to start the challenge. And first, I just want to show you, this is what I mean by, this is a browser-based NLE, and very soon will be fully functioning. So for example, I can cut a clip in half, or I can delete a clip. I can undo. We have snapping. We have trimming. So there's a lot of, this is an NLE, and it's in your browser. And all of the processing that's done, this is all done on our server. The reason we do that is because all of your students are going to have different equipment at home. Some will have really great fast computers, and others will have mom and dad's old system. And so with EditMentor, students can work in the library or on a Chromebook, and it doesn't matter. It's not a limiting factor for them. So in this lesson, the student needs to watch the sequence and delete a clip. And I'm just going to, let's undo all. I'm going to play the sequence. And if you want, you can type in the chat box even which clip you think the student should delete. I'm not sure if you can hear this actually. You might not be able to hear it. Let's see. Sound is good. Okay, good. Sorry, I'll play that section again. Okay, so this is a scene from the movie Bingo Night, which is a movie that we offer on Edit Stock. And let's see, I can hear it faintly. No, number 7. Okay, so let's delete shot number 7. And I'm just going to click the clip and use the ripple delete button. And let's submit the answer. And this is what makes EditMentor so special. So we got an answer. There is an actual correct or incorrect answer. And so you can see that the correct answer lit up. But the student also gets, and this is where it gets really fun, the opportunity to see all the possible answers. And the student can actually click on any one of these answers and read about why it's correct or incorrect. Let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, so cool, right? I couldn't agree more. And so I just want to, this is the full, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so you can see my face, okay? This is the philosophy behind EditMentor. If we were to take a tutorial video and say, you are going to watch Slash from Guns N' Roses play the guitar for 24 hours straight, and at the end of it, we're going to hand you a guitar and you're going to know how to play it now. You know, no one can do that. That's just not how learning works. Learning works by hands-on practice, okay? So we need to be more interactive than just watching a tutorial video. Tutorial videos are helpful in helping identify technological buttons, like, for example, how to use Premiere, but it's not great at craft editing. Craft editing really needs to be interactive. And I just want to add to that, which is that we have this concept like, you know, the soccer coach doesn't just tell the team to go out and scrimmage every single day. The soccer coach will take the big concept of soccer and break it down to smaller bites, like 2-on-1s or corner kicks or penalty shots. And that's really the approach that we need to take for editing, because not every single movie is going to give a student the opportunity to cut in parallel action or to even use dialogue editing techniques. Dialogue isn't even in every single movie. But students need to understand these concepts. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And I'm going to go to a lesson I'm working on. Oh, and let's see the basics of editing. No, not this one. Framing types and shots. No, not quite this one. Defining terms. So you might give someone, we might give someone a lesson. Oh, here you can see an example of a teacher's video that we put in here. And it's just me reading the lesson information. And actually, in the future, you'll even be able to record yourself live here. You won't have to assemble a video. So I'm going to continue the lesson. And it's kind of remembering me. So it's asking me, let's see, you know, panning and tilting. It's always warning me that if I re-answer the question, that I'm not going to score any points again, because I've already answered the question. So your students, we're going to have this as a homework assignment and as quizzing and testing. So during quizzing and testing, the students can retry the question, but they can't score points again. But in a homework assignment, they can retry the question and they can score points. And these points, by the way, will get sent directly into your Canvas system or other LMS systems. And the way to just put a lesson into an LMS, you need a 5-minute integration phone call from your IT department with us. And then from then on, all you have to do is copy this link, literally Command-C, Command-V, paste it into your LMS, and your students don't even need to create accounts or anything. They'll just have this lesson pop up for them. And that is a function that already works now. So let's see. So in this one, do you see any shots that pan or tilt? So in this one, the student actually needs to find shots that pan or tilt. And so let's see. Got to remember the answer to this question myself. So this is clearly a tilt. And I'm just going to add a marker to the top. We're working on, from our first beta, we learned that pressing this little marker button here should light up or something. So let's see. I see your question, and I'm going to answer it momentarily. So let's see. A pan or a tilt. Okay. This is a pan. You know, some of these answers, like this one, is it a pan? Is it a tilt? I don't know. I'm gonna mark it, and let's see what the answers come out as. This is a pan. No, so we can only add 3 answers. Let's see. I'm gonna submit my answer. So one of these is probably wrong because this is definitely a pan. I can move my answer, or I can delete my answer, and I can add a new one. And let's submit my answers. Okay, so one of them I actually got wrong. Why did I get it wrong? Let's see. I understand why you picked this shot, but remember, in order for the shot to be considered tilting, the body of the camera needs to stay still. Here, the body of the camera itself is moving up and down. I think I've actually got this in the wrong place. So we're gonna show how to change an answer momentarily. So let's see all the answers, and you can see that the students, if they can get something partially correct, we have multiple correct answers. And let's just make sure I'm checking everyone's questions. Oh, cool. RAD LMS integration. Yeah, it's awesome. We tried this at Mount St. Mary's with some success. So I know that it works. So I'm actually going to adjust this lesson. So what is this? This is panning and tilting number 5 in the defining terms lesson. So let's see how a teacher would adjust this, because I think I made a mistake. So let's see. We were in the defining terms lesson, and we wanted to adjust panning and tilting. So I'm going to edit the lesson. Now, students will not have access to this, only teachers. And from the challenge, I'm going to go to panning and tilting, and I feel like, oh, and I'm going to edit the answers. And let's just press record answers. So why was this one wrong? So this is clearly a pan. Am I right? I mean, isn't it? Do you see any shots that pan or tilt? Hold on. Tilting is up and down. Panning is left and right. Yeah, this is a pan. And the body of the camera stayed still. So this one should probably be correct. So I want to change this to be a correct answer. I have no total points available. So I'm actually going to, watch this. I'm going to change the total points to 20, or actually 15. The maximum total points for this question. I've saved it. And now I'm going to record answers. I'm going to switch this wrong answer to be correct and give it 5 points. And change what the flag said. And just like that, stop and save. That's it. The challenge is updated. The challenges, while I'm in here, I might as well show you a little bit more. I can adjust what order they're in. I said I can adjust what order they're in just by clicking and grabbing and dragging them around. I can duplicate them, and I can create new ones. I'm just going to show you something really cool about creating challenges, and I'm going to do it in a draft lesson. So these are lessons that are not published yet, but we're working on them. And here's like an example lesson. I'm just going to edit it. So because we are obviously partnered with EditStock, and I'll explain more about that partnership in a minute. I mean, it's almost silly to call it a partnership because we are two distinct companies, but we're basically one company. I'm going to add a challenge, and the challenge is going to be called, which clip from Ashes should we delete? And the question type is going to be a multiple choice question. So, okay, we're going to say, what happens to the main character in this scene? And we can give the students a hint, like there are two correct answers, but that's not, well, yeah, okay. And we'll say the max score is 10. There can be only one, from the Highlander. Now, this is really cool. You can start with a blank timeline, and you can actually just edit right here, okay? So if you're the teacher, you can edit right here. But we know that this is an extremely annoying process, right? To actually have to edit your whole scene before you can create the challenge. So what we've added is templates. So from EditStock, any of the movies that we sell, you can actually just pick the template literally by pressing what movie you want, and all of the clips are loaded right here, and the timeline is loaded. And I'm getting a little bit of a lag now. It's just because I'm pulling a lot of bandwidth on the internet. And I can start recording my answers right from here. So what did I make? I made a multiple choice question. So I'll add an answer, and I just say, this shot. I'll give it 10 points and say, you got it right, and add an answer, and just call this one incorrect. That shot. No. And let's just submit that, stop and save. Okay, and so just like that, we have a new challenge for the students to edit. And I'll place it first, just so you guys can see what a multiple choice question looks like. And before I can play it like a student, I need to publish the lesson. So I will publish it. And we're taken to the published page. Let's play the lesson. And so this is the question that we just made. Which clip from Ashes should be deleted? And the student will pick a multiple choice answer. So I'm gonna, we have a question in the chat. Let's see. Done. Extremely intuitive. Thank you very much. So before I go on, I want to interact with you guys for a second and hear your thoughts. Okay. The thing that I'm the most curious about is, one, what did you think this was when you signed up to be here? Did you have any idea? Did you think it was an NLE, or did you have did you try the trial? Did you have a concept of what it was going to be? And then my second question, I believe there were plans for different skins to replicate other NLEs. There are, in fact, plans for that, and I'm happy to share a mock-up of that. So let's see, UI, UX. So not that one. So like this is an Avid skin mock-up. And we've been working with Avid about this. They're actually very excited to do this. Oh, you probably can't see it. Hold on. So this is a mock-up of what EditMentor could look like with an Avid skin applied to it. And you'll see it's all the same buttons, right? I mean, obviously we have some in the wrong places, and I need to work with my UI designer a bit to change like the look of these tracks. But basically, you know, we have insert and overwrite edit already. We have lift and extract. We just call it ripple delete and regular delete. So for us to update a skin on this is not a big deal. And like I said, the goal isn't to not use Media Composer later, because for your students who are professional editor, who are training to be professional editors, we want them to use the professional editing tool. But EditMentor is really for ages as young as 8th grade, all the way up through college level. And we want everyone to learn to feel comfortable in front of editing software in general. Tried the trial, so I had a sense of what it is. But in my trial attempt, yes, so the audio didn't work. There was only one track visible. So I am glad that this question came up about audio and video, really. A while back, I wrote an article called From Prototype to Beta Test. And it was from the idea in my head to what we are showing you now, basically, minus a few changes. And you feel like, you know, everything is going to be so easy to make. You know, you feel like you're always on this straight line. But EditMentor is one of only a very small handful, maybe 3 or 4 browser-based NLEs in the world. It's the only one. Okay, it's like one of the only ones. There's a couple of others, but in the way that we've implemented it with the lessons part, it is the only one. And so the internet has all these strange video limitations that I didn't realize, that my developers didn't realize either. Like, for example, did you know that all video frame rates online round up to the closest whole number and count in milliseconds instead of frames? There's no frame rate, really. So we invented a tool that converts the frame rate. And the reason that matters is because we're thinking ahead to a time when EditMentor is a panel in Premiere. So you can make an example in Premiere and then drag your sequence into the panel and it uploads automatically to EditMentor, right? So that's the kind of integration we're working towards. With sound, we ran into an issue that over a long duration of time, the sound will go out of sync. So while we have sound now, we have limited the ability of the user to adjust sound and picture separately. But we are inventing our own audio HTML5 tag, which will allow us to do sound separately. I'm going to answer this question about an NLE like WeVideo. Yes, absolutely yes. WeVideo is a tool that is very much in line with what we expect our capabilities to be, because it's a very basic browser-based NLE. Now, WeVideo had a $20 million infusion from a venture capitalist, so they got there first. But what makes EditMentor really different from something like WeVideo is that we are focused on the training aspect. So yes, your students will be able to edit in EditMentor like an NLE, but we're designing EditMentor to integrate learning tools. So for example, one question type that we're working on is allowing your students to edit for some period of time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, and then sending the teacher not just a snapshot of their timeline at the end so that the teacher can actually literally see the cuts, but also a screen recording of the student's process so you can skim through it and give them feedback about literally their process. How did they think? How did they act? And so our goal is to take education about the craft of editing and put that back at the center of film training and move the training of the tool to the outer edge of the training. So we start with the core concepts of storytelling. Okay, Love the idea of seeing a student's process. Will there be a provision to upload and use our own footage? Great question. I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully you can see my screen now. I also want to, before I even get to the uploading process, here's the templates. So you can see the templates right here. You can duplicate them and turn them into your own templates. You can add a new template when you're working from scratch. And in fact, I'll add a new template and I'll just call it webinar. And you can, yes, so the answer to your question is yes, you can import your own footage. In fact, I can do that now. I can just click any clip and import it. I'm not going to because it's going to take up the bandwidth that I need to run this webinar. But yes, even right now, you can upload your own footage. Okay, did I miss any questions? Try the trial so I had a sense of what it was. But in my attempt, the audio didn't work, was a little confused. Right, okay, we answered that question. Okay, who else has a question? By the way, I should also mention, a lot of this is running on our own internal server right now. Like I mentioned, we were going to launch at NAB, but obviously NAB was canceled. So some things, like the reason that we are incrementally releasing the beta is because there is no button right now for a teacher to create their own account. We have to manually do it in the database, which we are doing for the first subset of teachers that have signed up. And what we're really hoping to get from you guys, from the first teachers who do sign up, is feedback. We need you to tell us what is working, what's not working, what direction should we go in, how would you prefer to use the tool. So another thing, go ahead and type in more questions if you have them. I'm going to mention a few more things. Is there a limit to the number of students that we can have, or do we pay by seats? It will be pay by seats with a 30-seat minimum. We are looking at pricing, but hold on, don't get scared. We're looking at pricing something like $10 per student per year. So it's a little less than $1 a month per student. And certainly this is what our initial plan is for the beta. We're going to give you guys the software for free, obviously, for a period of time. And then once we feel like say in a month or so, when we have sound separate, which is coming, when we have a few more lessons created, and when you've had the opportunity to try this with your students, we're going to offer you guys a deal, something like this. You'll get a year access for that $300 if you commit now, not necessarily pay now, although you could. It will be an unlimited number of students initially, and you will not be required to pay until we have fulfilled whatever development track we are promising you. And part of that free access in the beta program will be that you actually use the lessons that we give out. So every week we're going to be giving out a new lesson. You share it with your students. You give us some feedback about how they liked it, what we should change. And then, like I said, it's free. So I'm teaching an advanced editing class to mostly seniors. However, their training before my class has been pretty spotty, and there's a range of abilities in the class. Do you have a sense of whether there's a built-in ready functionality for more advanced students while also providing more basic training for others? So first of all, the lessons, there's advanced lessons and beginner lessons, and you can give either student whatever they need, right? And students can replay lessons as they need as well. But I just want to add, this whole concept of what even is an advanced lesson, or what even is an advanced student, is something we don't know empirically. And it's such a common thing. Like, is advanced editing taking 10 scenes and making a 2-minute montage out of it? Or is advanced editing rotoscoping a single shot? We don't know objectively as teachers where students struggle. And so part of the reason to have EditMentor and part of the reason to have scores and quizzing and testing and homework isn't so that we rank students, which is, I think, a common misconception that teachers have. I hear this is one very common refrain I hear from teachers. My class doesn't give homework. We have the projects that the students need to accomplish, and that's it, right? My class doesn't give tests or quizzes. We have the project that the student needs to accomplish, and that's it. But the way that I feel about it is you need to be quizzing your students. And you can quiz them on things like, here's 10 wide shots. How would you use these wide shots? And they need to think about it because we need to identify holes in their knowledge. That's what a quiz is for. It's not for ranking people. It's for helping the students figure out what they know and what they don't know. And right now, we have no way of knowing, does all of your class struggle with understanding a concept, or does just one student struggle with understanding a concept? But in EditMentor, and I'll just share again, you can have, there is going to be a dashboard where you, the teacher, will be able to see where all of your students are struggling and where they aren't struggling. And I'm just going to show you a preview of kind of what that dashboard might look like. This is from the prototype development stage. So this is very early on. These are just still frames. And let's see. 1 second. These are all the screens that made up the EditMentor prototype, which in and of itself is pretty cool. So you'll be able to see messages from students, assign them homework on a calendar, create a quiz, build a lesson, my courses, right? You'll be able to give students feedback. We're going to integrate with Frame.io. So you'll be able to give students feedback directly in their timelines. And I'll just show you this actually. It's almost just as interesting really from the student point of view. The student will be able to see their score over a period of time. So for example, they'll actually be able to see their own improvement as they get questions right or wrong. And we're going to gamify this a bit so that students can actually get rewards for doing a certain number of assignments. And all of this isn't just some nonsensical, fun, like sticky way of selling a product. This is how you encourage usage and interaction, and this is how you actually motivate students to complete the assignments. One of the things that we learned from our beta test is students care a lot about their grades. And so it's really important that they get the opportunity to try again when they do their homework assignments. And as I mentioned before, we're not so concerned, especially all of us arts teachers, we're not so concerned with their grade. We want them to try again. We want them to redo their homework assignments until they get 100, right? Why do we want them to be wrong? Why do we want to rank them? However, when you give them a test or a quiz at the end of the semester, there we do actually want to rank them. Okay, will students be able to export their work in the future? Yes. And I want to mention that all EditStock projects, EditStock being the separate company EditStock, can be used on portfolios specifically for this purpose. We have a lot of business decisions to make in EditMentor, which is separate than EditStock, about how we're going to pay the filmmakers whose footage that we're using in our material. And we don't know what that structure is yet because we don't know what the demand is, what the pricing is, what our costs are. We don't know how much data transfer and bandwidth your usage will take up. So it's very hard for us to estimate to a contributor, and we have a contributor actually in the audience in this webinar, So rest assured, that is part of the plan. Edit stock does not exist without independent filmmakers, period, the end. We pay them money because it's good for us and it's good for the community. So we're definitely going to do a similar thing in EditMentor. But for right now, we've limited exports because we don't want to be giving away filmmakers' footage without capturing some income for them. Okay, I'm still trying to, but edit stock footage, yes, you can do that even right now. Okay, I'm still trying to understand the back end here. If a class doesn't use Blackboard, how will I integrate, or how would students just be individually plugged into EditMentor? That's a great question. And I'm sharing my screen and going back to EditMentor. So the reason that you don't have access to EditMentor right now is because we're building the process. Actually, it's already built. As of this morning, it's built. So you guys will start to gain access on Monday after I've had a chance to test it. Right now, when I go to my users account, these are users, these are my testers, okay? These are like, you could log into EditMentor by using student4@editmentor.com. And actually, I'll share that login information with you in a moment. And you can import students as a list with just a CSV file, or you can invite a student by just pressing invite student, enter their email address, enter their name, and they're invited to join EditMentor, and they can log in at editmentor.com. Okay, so you don't need to have an LMS to use EditMentor. It's just easy for you if you have one. The reason that you don't have accounts right now is because EditMentor is all one set of users right now. We're not delineating by school. And obviously, because of HIPAA laws and because we're not total idiots, we know that every school needs to have their own teachers and students and access to their own data and the ability to delete their own data. And so as soon as that is done, and when we say the back end is done, what I mean is we've built the necessary databases, and I've sent an Excel spreadsheet to the developers, and they're going to create the accounts for us, but there isn't yet a button for you to create the account yourself. Once you've been added as a school, which again will start on Monday, then you can invite your students yourself, okay? And it's going to be about one more week before the back end is, before the front end of this subscription model is set up so that anyone can join the beta just by clicking create account and create their own account. Are we going to be FERPA compliant? It's on the list. Of course, we're going to be compliant. We know we're dealing with student data. We know that, and especially because a lot of our target audience is moving upstream earlier in the process. You guys are primarily college professors, although I'm looking through the crowd and I see that there are definitely some high school teachers here. It's much more sensitive an issue for high school teachers than college teachers because your students are under the age of 18. I just want you to know that even when we connect with your LMS, we're not like recording student information. Actually, with our initial test with Mount St. Mary's, we just recorded token information. So the teacher has an account, and let's say that the student's name is John Smith. When they connect to EditMentor, the student's name shows up as an ID number, like SL50301. And we just say, does SL50301 have access? And the token from the learning management system says, yes, they have access. So and that's it. We don't even know who the student is. When you create a student account, of course, you're going to type in their real name and email address. So yes, we will know who the student is, but the teacher has direct control to delete that data at any time. We're not warehousing that data. I know years in the future, but Google login option a la Adobe site license. Adobe Classroom is actually difficult for us to work with. So it's not in the short-term plan. That has to do with their API, but we know that Google Classroom is popular. And I guess if you're asking about will someone be able to log into Edit Stock and also EditMentor, you know, maybe, sure. But right now, like we really, our goal is getting the editing tools as good as possible and getting more question types. I know I've already held you guys for 45 minutes. I'm happy to keep answering questions as long as you need. But I do feel like kind of a natural slowdown might be occurring. So do people have any more questions or anything? Is there anything else you want to see? Oh, I want to mention also that what I've learned is that teachers are not going to want to make curriculum. Mostly teachers are going to want to use our curriculum. And that's especially true in the beginning stages when creating the curriculum itself is still a little bit difficult. But I want you to know that there's this rule of design. It's called the 80-20 rule. And it applies to like everything in the world. It's like pi, you know, the circumference of a circle. It's like 3.1 times the diameter. That it's just, or times the radius. So the 80-20 rule just says that, you know, 20% of teachers are going to make 80% of the curriculum in EditMentor. You know, 20% of your customers are 80% of your revenue. 20% of roads are where 80% of traffic drives down. Okay, so we want to incentivize the teachers who are going to make curriculum, and the way to do that is with a marketplace. So if you're a teacher and you've created lessons and you think they're really good, you can sell them or give them away to other teachers. And so that is actually not that difficult a thing for us to implement. And so that's definitely coming soon. Okay, are you interested in patenting or partnering, I'm assuming, with academics like myself to design lessons that you may not currently have? That is like my #1 request on earth. And please email me, because it's enormously time consuming to create curriculum. It can take as long as developing the software itself. I have an enormous amount of respect for teachers who are good at this. My fundamental contribution has been really the thinking up and development process of the software, but I know that I need more time spent on curriculum, and I'm doing that every day. So just so you know, I'm personally working on curriculum every day. But yes, I want your feedback. I will share an open document with you about our outline, and we'll work on it together. Would it be possible for students to log in individually to publish their results directly to their professor, like a publish button, so I can track their grades manually? When a student completes a lesson, that information is already published to you, the teacher. You don't need to, the student doesn't need to press anything. That's happening. Oh, that's the whole point, actually. Trimming will absolutely be a question type. That's the very next question type we're working on. Students log in to publish their results directly to their professors. Yes. So any work the student does is going right to the teacher, and we're saving the term publish for moving a lesson from a draft mode to being visible, as in published, to students to see. Okay, what else? Who else has? Oh, I wanted to mention about the publishing thing. One of the requirements of HIPAA and FERPA are that students cannot see each other's grades for obvious reasons. And I just want you to know that they will not be able to. Now, we do have an idea to, when this is available to individuals, to make a little bit of, competition so students can see their rank compared to other students, like worldwide. we think it's a motivating factor, but we may do it with either a screen name or an alias name, or have it be have your score be an opt-in to the system as opposed to an automatic opt-in. Like the student has to actually want that. Maybe the student will have to be 18. You know, I don't know. But that's we have a saying in Russia. My family's Russian, and we have this great saying. That's the 23rd question. And that's the way I feel about it. Is like, we have 22 other more important things to build first, and then we'll worry about that stuff. Okay, any more questions?
Nisha, can I ask you a question just over audio?
I can't hear you, John, but that could be on my end. Let's see. Try talking again.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, hold on. Sound preferences. I bet you I know why I can't hear you. One
Why?
second. Sorry. Sorry. It's my computer's going a little slow. Do you want to type your question while I'm trying to figure out why I can't hear you? Let's see. Just going to get to my system preferences. Not good when your system preferences don't load, right, in your Mac. Here we go. And let's see. Sound. Here it is. I know it's on my end. I'm 100% sure it's on my end because, oh, actually, I can fix this. Oh. Okay, John,
Yeah.
say your question again. Now I hear you perfectly.
Oh, okay, great. Now that I've almost typed it.
I had a mic plugged into my headphone jack, and my speakers thought that my headphone jack was my headphone. I mean, my microphone is my headphones. Okay, go ahead.
In my classes, I'm always talking about storytelling and craft and a lot of these things that you're focused on with EditMentor, so it's very nice to see that. However, the thing I'm always getting from students is, you know, they really want to learn the nitty-gritty functionality of Premiere, which is the platform we use. And I'm fairly resistant to teaching a lot of technical skills, particularly in an advanced class in college. However, it would be nice for them to kind of, through osmosis, learn some of this functionality of Premiere in the process of doing these lessons. And I'm wondering, you know, partially so I don't have to spend class time where I want to be talking about storytelling and, you know, showing them where button A and button B are. Do you have thoughts about whether EditMentor can be a platform where just by doing it, they are going to learn a lot of the functionality of the software programs they might be using, you know, which is kind of like what a tutorial is already that's published by the various NLEs. But I just wanted to kind of hear what your thoughts are about that.
So the answer is yes on a basic level and no on an advanced level. We're never going to be able to, and nor is our goal, catch up to Premiere or any other NLE. But the basics of what editing is, an in point, an out point, 3-point editing, ripple delete, trimming, all of that very basic functionality, yes, of course. In fact, we have a question type that's, you can actually tell the user they can get it wrong if they press delete and correct if they press ripple delete. So yes, of course, we actually see EditMentor as a tool to be used by companies like lynda.com or LinkedIn Learning now to go along with their tutorial videos. We want the student to literally watch the video and use EditMentor as they do it. But EditMentor, because it's in a browser, so if you were to try to implement some of this functionality, like how you can get an answer right or wrong inside of Premiere, you're limited to what Premiere can do. And that's actually true of all the NLEs. You're limited to what they can do. But in a browser, I can add things like a tour. I can actually have buttons light up and have it say, you know, press this button to do this thing. You know, a little virtual teacher that sits on the shoulder of the student. So yes, we can teach some buttons, and we will. But like you, I believe that the craft of editing needs to be the center of the education around which we put the tool training.
Yeah, I agree. And, thinking through this more, makes me feel like possibly EditMentor could be an argument that I'm always trying to make of is basically a platform independent argument that editing is editing and doesn't matter what software you're using.
It is. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I actually recommend one really great high school that I visited recently. This is a school with funding, means, terrific teachers. They have everything. They require their students to make a 2-minute silent movie on their phone as the first lesson. They're not allowed to use sound. They must edit with their phone, and they must use their phone to shoot the thing. And the reason is to make the storytelling aspect of it the primary tool, right? They have to write a script, storyboard out what their goal is. Yeah. Okay, I'm looking in the chat and I see a question about iOS and Android.
No. No.
Oh, I love being able to hear everyone now.
It was just a statement. My experience is that my students will learn what they need to learn with the tool that they have. And so I kind of agree in that I don't spend a whole lot of time on the bits and bobs of the 5 or 6 different ways to do exactly the same thing in one piece of software. But I mean, you can always, use the edit stock footage in your labs the way I do, and you can either do screen recordings or just have them work with the footage the way I do.
Totally.
And the nice thing about the edit stock footage is that I actually use the Incubate footage, but instead of putting together the little commercial, they actually put together a music video. And
cool.
They have a blast with that, and it's amazing how many different styles of music will work with that footage. So
cool.
I think there are ways around that you can, whatever your philosophy is for teaching editing, I think you can strike that balance. I see EditMentor as being almost, well, not right now because it's the only thing we have because our campus is shut down, but I can see it very easily being a companion piece to, use EditMentor for this type of stuff. And then, okay, bring these concepts into my lab with other footage and use Premiere or whatever you have to accomplish the same types of things.
Yeah, you're 100%. That's exactly right. We don't see EditMentor as a replacement for anything. We see it as a replacement for books, pretty much, or an addition to video tutorials and things. And I just want to add one thing about that I feel very strongly about. Being someone, I was a Final Cut Pro certified instructor from Apple, taught the class. I've taken 30 Avid classes, the official curriculum from the book. And let me tell you something, if you are a teacher and you are saying the exact same thing to a class one after another, like the Final Cut Pro 101 class, it should be recorded and it shouldn't be done in the classroom. Get it the hell out of there and spend your classroom time with each student, doing something that you actually need to be there for, like working on their project. So I actually see EditMentor as a way of, with the creative part of education, you can even get a lot of that basic stuff out of there. You don't have to spend class time showing them what a wide shot is and how to use it. You can give them an EditMentor lesson on that and go over it briefly with the students in class for a minute and spend the class time reviewing cuts, talking about exactly what you said, how like different music could be used. But it doesn't mean that they don't need to know that a story needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that they need to, make it intentional.
It's a great way to flip things.
Exactly. Brad Clark asks, I'm the president of a regional high school media teacher group with 30 members, so 30 high schools. Can you offer the beta to other high school teachers? High school teachers are my primary focus because I have so the answer is yes. And I have a brief story about that. So Norm Holland, I considered him at least a dear friend, although, he passed away last year. He's a professor at USC, but many people consider him a dear friend. In any case, what he told me was that at USC, which is one of the best film schools in the country, and I'm not comparing to anyone in this call, but they're obviously very well resourced when Steven Spielberg gives you $1 million or whatever to build your program. Or more. He said to me, when he started his job there 10 years ago, that you could be a really smart high school student, but with no film experience and get into their program. And he said, now, much like what basketball, you can't go to Duke and be a really good athlete, but have never played basketball and join their team, right? You have to already come in with some experience. So on the high school level, we have an enormous disparity between schools that teach video editing and those that don't. And it's such a shame because younger and younger audiences are going to need to know video editing. I actually consider it the next literacy after reading and writing. I literally think it's that important that early education get access to understanding video editing, even if they don't become video editors. It's just because that's media literacy, right? That's like understanding what the images that are presented to you and what they mean. Okay, so yes, our target is high schools. That's why we're pricing it so low. We're hoping that many high schools join. Okay, I know it's technical, but is there a minimum spec? Basically, the minimum spec has to do with how old your browser is and how good your internet connection is. So we are only allowing sort of everything that gets uploaded is transcoded into one format that makes it easy to stream. And you need to use a modern, right now only Chrome works, it works best. We have some problems with Safari, but it will work on, Firefox and things. But really right now we're just recommending, Chrome. And yeah, but our target is in terms of hardware is a Chromebook. And it's really, our system can actually detect what the hardware capabilities are of the user's computer and can share resources so that so if a student's computer is weak, we're doing all the processing on our server. And if the student's computer is strong, they're doing all the processing on their computer. Okay, let's see. I'm seeing some private questions too. Let's see, I like the idea of analyzing a student's process. However, I can see that being very time consuming. Have you considered an artificial intelligence analysis? Oh, Jesus, you want to hear the grand vision? Okay, this is the grand vision of EditMentor. And we're not close to this, okay? And there's some question about if this is possible or not. Do you guys know the software Grammarly, which gives you feedback about as you're writing? It'll say, this sentence was written in the passive voice. And you can rephrase it slightly. Like even here's a suggestion of how you could rephrase it. There are what I've definitely learned in watching many thousands of student cuts is that there are many right ways to cut something and many wrong ways to cut something, but there is definitely a delineation and there are definitely rules of thumb that can be taught. And that's what EditMentor aims to do, is to teach those rules of thumb. But can we analyze a sequence and tell a student that they're messing up? Yes. So for example, the system could, in theory, listen to the voiceover track of a documentary and say to the student, here you mentioned trees, but the footage on top is of a lake. Here are some shots you haven't used yet that include trees. I recommend using these. So yes, in theory, we can do that. That is in some sense, the holy grail. because I don't know this for sure, but I can just guarantee you that that's what Adobe Sensei is trying to do with Premiere. That is what, you know, Final Cut Pro will try to do. That is what Avid will try to do, because we're on the frontier of learning machines and the very beginnings of artificial intelligence. And what we've learned, many people have tried to make an auto editor, but what we've all learned is that they're not good, and that machines need to be used to complement editors, not replace them. And the reason for that is because you're creating you're creating a video to have an emotional impact on a human. So a human needs to guide it, because a machine cannot actually have an emotion. There's a lot we can do in terms of simulating human emotion. For example, you can actually train a learning machine. You can give 1,000 humans measure their responses to various movies, and then you can simulate how a person would respond to a movie that they hadn't seen yet. But again, this is a frontier, because if you can do that, then you can actually decide, you can figure out how much your audience will like your movie before you shoot it. So there, like I said, it's the holy grail. I mean, Netflix is trying to figure this out. HBO is trying to figure this out. And I'm not just saying that like off the top of my head. I went to a conference called what's the international group? Select, CILECT, which is an international group of film schools at Chapman University just 3 months ago. And a representative from HBO was there and a representative from Disney was there. And they were telling us that they're now able to predict much better which movies will be successful based on franchising and audience modeling. But what they're not able to predict yet is what is a good movie. But they're working on it. It's a crazy new world. I'm telling you. You guys should read the book, The Big Picture. And I'll tell you who the author is here. It's by Ben Fritz. It's called The Fight for the Future of Movies. And it just talks about the rise of Marvel and Disney and Star Wars. And it's told through the eyes of the collapse of Sony Pictures, which was hacked. And Amy Pascal specifically, a lot of her emails were released. And while it's interesting, of course, to dig into her personal life, unfortunately, it's much more interesting what she has to say about how the market of filming has changed, what audiences will buy. Star movies aren't going away. Sundance movies and things aren't going away, but they're not going to be on the big screen anymore. They're going to be shown by Amazon and Netflix. But okay. John asks, my class starts again next week online. What does the timeline look like for getting this up and running? EditMentor is up and running. On Monday, I will get later today or tomorrow, I will actually get the first school account, which is an example school, so I can test it as if I'm you. And if everything is good, then Monday, the first schools will get access. That will include everything that you've seen here. So you'll be able to build templates and things, but it will be a very frustrating tool to work with. And I'm just giving you that heads up now. I also promise you that I am 100% available all of the time. And we have a button on there, intercom, where you can chat directly with me. And at night, hopefully, we'll have the support team, the development team also on there. We'll be able to help you through any struggles. But every week, I'm planning on releasing a new lesson that you can share with your students. Who else? Have I answered all the questions? Have I missed anything? I recognize so many of the names here. I can't tell you how proud I am that you're all here. because this for me has been a 5-year-long dream and journey. When I first started EditMentor, Flash was the dominant multimedia platform on the internet. And when I told my developers I wanted to build this thing, they literally said, wait 5 years, because to build it now would be a waste and we'd have to restart. Okay. Do you guys need to provide anything? Right now, you don't need to provide anything. If you've given me your email address, you're on the list. And if you haven't given me your email address, you should. And if you don't hear from me in a week or two, you should ping me in 2 weeks. So not this coming Monday, but the following Monday. We will hopefully have a system where you can sign up for the beta yourself. And then our sort of most active beta participants, we're going to contact about special deals, special pricing, special everything. Can you invite other high school teachers? You should send everybody my way. There's no way right now to create an account except through me emailing an Excel sheet to the developers. It's coming soon. But yes, please invite everyone, because I believe, separate from any success that this may have as a business, that it is critically important that we put the creative aspect of editing and storytelling in general back at the center of our education, and not being, and include teaching tools, but not have that be the primary focus. And that we give students something interactive to do. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna end the webinar, and thank you all for being here. I'll make this available online, hopefully, unless it looks ridiculous or I didn't record sound or something. So thank you all, and take care.